we are back again with our project Stay Safe. My name is Merlin Ganguly. I am the head of operations at RoomsXpert.com. Our guest today is Mrs. Pooja Bansal, who is the owner of Niwas Street Hotel in Jaipur. So let's welcome Mrs. Pooja Bansal. Hi Pooja, welcome to RoomsXpert.com. Before we start our discussion, I would request you to give us a brief introduction of yourself.
My name is Pooja Bansal, and I am part of the family group that manages Niwas Hospitality. It is based in Jaipur, and we have 4 hotels and a backpackers hostel in the city. We also have food and travel solutions for Rajasthan and North India. And I manage one of the properties in Jaipur, which is called the Niwas Suite Hotel.
Okay, so our first question is, tell us about your property, where it is located exactly, and how big is it?
Niwas is located very close to the railway station. It is in the center of the city with the walled city, the pink city, not more than 3 kilometers from here. We are a boutique property in Jaipur with 27 suite apartment like rooms. We serve vegetarian home-like preparation as food, which is appreciated by a lot of guests.
Okay, so our next question is whether your hotel was shut down or was operating during the last 3 months during the COVID-19.
The lockdown started in the end of May. It was a Sunday when our Prime Minister declared that it was a 24-hour period where everybody's going to stay inside. So that was the time all the 4 properties were running, and we were kind of having our raw materials in place just in case there is a dearth of resources. So we were geared for coming months. But on Wednesday, on 23rd of March, it was announced that it is going to be a 21-day lockdown period. And as hospitality was going, we could see that in early March also we saw that the guests had stopped coming. And now with the international flights not taking place, we had to shut down the properties. But there were a few guests who could not leave. They were international guests. Because of lack of international flights, they could not fly back home. Few did not want to go back because India was safer than their European home countries. There were also some Indian guests who were working in government department, working with the SEMA house. So they could not leave. So we decided that from all our 4 properties, we'll have one property open where all these stranded guests could stay. And Niwas, because of the kind of accommodation which we have, that it's a larger place, there's a kitchenette, so the guests would be more comfortable in a larger accommodation. So that is how all the guests were shifted here. And initially we thought that maybe that we'll be able to provide them with gas and cylinders and they'll probably be able to cook. But it seemed out that they were not really wanting to do that. So we had to come up with solutions and ideas as to how we are going to ask the team members to be here. It was a big risk to still be coming and working in the hotel. So a core team was identified. 2 of the front office staff were requested to stay in the property. The basic 2 cooks and a waiting staff was requested from the F&B division to stay put in the property. And 1 housekeeping, very bare minimal staff or the team members were requested to stay here. And I think the team did fantastically well in keeping all the guests well serviced. So that is how we survived the initial lockdown period. We had to stay open and we had to ensure that the guests were comfortable and safe.
Okay.
That is how yeah.
Okay. So as your at least 1 property was running and full pleasantly due to your guests who couldn't go back. So how is your hotel prepared to handle your customers with safety? Like what were the precautions your staff were taking during that time?
So Niwas has been open for the past 3 months, and I would say we gradually evolved to present day kind of standard of operating procedures in this COVID scenario. But initially it was difficult. We tried to address the problem first by isolating ourselves. The entire property was acting like a fortress. Nobody was allowed inside and nobody was going out. out. No, the guests were not going out. The team members were staying here. So, and whatever raw material was coming, we were trying to screen the vendors, only the trusted vendors. Whatever was coming inside was getting disinfected or was kept aside for 3 days so that it becomes auto disinfected, because it was assumed that the virus had 3 days life on soft surfaces. So all these researches were coming, and there were blogs written and there were webinars happening on how to survive this virus. So we also were doing our research and identifying the procedures and identifying the chemicals which could be used to do all that. So it gradually, and if I would elaborate on that, we identified 3 steps to that. One was isolating ourselves. Second was disinfecting all kinds of contact points. And third was to ensure that whoever is coming is screened properly and monitored well. So that is how we proceeded.
Okay. All right. So my next question is, with contactless becoming now the new norms, how does your hotel was handling your guests, and how will you do it further?
Right. Initially, what happened when the guests were staying here and nobody was coming inside, after let's say 21 days or let's say 2-3 weeks, the guests became very comfortable that none of them were infected, and the team was also safe that everybody was living inside one premises and none of them were infected. So that point, all of us kind of relaxed, and we saw things which we usually did not see. The guests would interact with each other, they were getting comfortable, we were all living like a family. But when the unlockdown started on 8th of June, we started seeing people wanting to come in, and they were wanting to do their unfinished business, primarily traveling from one place to another place where Niwas was like a stopover, or they were stranded somewhere, they just wanted to go out and meet their loved ones in the city. So all those people started coming in, and we were extremely careful in the beginning to screen whoever was coming, from where they were coming, to again minimize or mitigate the possibility of inviting an infected person. And also we had very strict guidelines from the health office in the city. We would ask the health office for each guest, we would send constant reports on temperatures to the health office. So the screening and monitoring was in place. Next, for contactless, we developed procedure where the guest would be sent an online check-in form, an online declaration form, and basic FAQs. So anything which a guest would require from the front office when they check in was done beforehand, when even before the guest would enter the property. Once the guest entered the property, they were screened for temperature, the hands were sanitized, the sole of the shoe was sanitized. Then they were straight taken from their cars to the rooms. They were not supposed to interact at all on the front office, and whatever communication happened with the guests would happen again via the telephone. The welcome message would be going via WhatsApp message. For checkouts as well, there were other things which were happening, other innovations happening with the banks. It does links by which credit card and debit card could be swiped in a contactless way. So all that was happening. We would share links of the payment methods to the guest via WhatsApp or email. And then at the time of checkout, the guest would bring out their luggage and leave directly without going to the front office. Later on, we would send a feedback form. So any contact which could have happened on the front office was just an alternate process was defined for that.
Introduced. Okay. All right. So what all measures are you planning to maintain the social distancing post COVID-19? Like there'll be staff members who will be coming and going, your kitchen area, your lobby area, all those, and F&B where you will have social distancing is required. So now how you're handling that? How will you handle that?
Absolutely. I think social distancing and hygiene is going to be the first criteria when a guest select any place where they are wanting to go, be it for having food or to stay. Right now, we are we are being extremely cautious about it. We haven't opened our restaurant. Instead, the guests are ordering only room service. That too, the team members leave the food tray outside their rooms on a table. Each room has a table outside, and the food is kept outside. They are informed that the food is outside. They can have the food in their living rooms of the suite, and once they're done, they can leave the dishes outside again on the table. So there is no contact happening at the level of the waiting staff who's serving food. Same for housekeeping. We have minimized, if the guest is staying for 2 days only, we are not doing housekeeping or cleaning of the rooms. We are offering the linen if required. Again, from outside, we leave it outside the room and they can pick it up. If the guest is staying for a longer time, then we do get the rooms cleaned. The housekeeping staff is provided with proper gear, with masks and disposable gloves and a screen, so that there is no chance of infection there. The guests are requested to wait in the lawn area or the lobby area till such time the housekeeping members clean their rooms. And when the guest checks out, we leave the room for 3 days. We do not enter the room for 3 days, developed into a system so that it becomes automatically disinfected as we assume that the life of the virus is 3. Only then the staff enters, do deep cleaning of the rooms, and prepare it for the next guest. So whoever is coming to any of the room, whoever is checking in, can be ensured that that particular room was not occupied at least for the past 3 days. So we are ensuring that the transfer of virus through services and through closed spaces does not happen.
Okay, so how are you guys sanitizing the hotel and keeping it, because it's a big property for sure, it's in Jaipur. So how you are taking care of the sanitization there in your hotel and regarding the safety of the guests?
Yes. So that was something which we were constantly doing research in the initial lockdown period, because there were a lot of guidelines coming from the hotel departments, the tourism department, the FSSI. So everybody was sharing their experiences, their research, which helped us form our standard operating procedures, in which we had 3 kind of chemicals. One is to disinfect the property, as in the boundary wall, the corridors. And another chemical is used to disinfect stone and glass surfaces. A third chemical is used to disinfect wooden or upholstered surfaces. And finally, an alcohol-based sanitizer, which is used to disinfect all kind of contact points like handles, doorknobs, things like that. So using disinfectant is extremely important, but again, these infectants, these are chemicals and they are harmful for the property as well. So we have to be really careful. The first chemical which was introduced was sodium hypochlorite, which is basically a bleach. So we cannot use on upholstery, and we cannot use everywhere. So that is being used only on boundary walls. So we also kind of evolved and did a lot of research. We definitely Googled and read a lot of literature on that to finally address that this is what we are following. And I think it's going to further evolve, because technology is growing and people are doing their own research. And with every passing weeks, we are getting literature on more chemicals and more way of disinfecting.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so my last question, is there anything you would like to address for our viewers and your viewers also?
I think as a hotelier, we've learned a lot in the past 3 months, that right now survival is on everybody's mind. And though our hotels, our business are dependent on guests, but still I would say that the next 1 or 2 months be very crucial in containing the virus. So travel only if it is a must, and whenever you're doing so, just maintain basic hygiene. I've seen and I've known people who have fought the disease at 90 years of age also and come out of it. So I'm sure after 2 months or 3 months, it's going to get back to normal, and that is the time we all are waiting.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pooja. Thank you for your precious time, and it's really very, it's a very informative information for our clients. Whoever will see will learn lots of things. Will come to know how to go through this process and this time, which is very much required for the people to be aware of the sanitization and social distancing and everything. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marlin. It was a pleasure interacting with you. And when we talk about our processes, it also boosts our confidence that we are going in some direction which is going to be beneficial for the entire society. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you so much. Thank you, dear.